So here's a myth that I want you to just think about really quickly. The myth is that, oh, if a woman knows or is told and talked about polygyny, that when it comes or happens, then she'll be more accepting of it or it'll be a lot easier for her. That's a myth. There's no actuarial data that we can look at to see if that's the case. Assalamu alaikum, peace. I'm Coach Nazir, one of the founders of Outstanding Personal Relationships, as well as one of the authors of Let's Talk Polygyny Uncensored. With that being said, today, I want to share something with you that's very important. It's really directed at the men, all right? Because again, I'm the coach that helps men get their shift together, all right? So with that being said, here's the thing. When it comes to polygyny in particular, and for those of you who don't know what polygyny is, or you might be confused, there's a term that many people already know as polygamy. Polygamy means people who are married to more than one spouse. So it's not restricted to any specific sex. Polygyny, which we usually mean when we say the term polygamy, is a man or a husband who is married to multiple women. Then there's polyandry, which is a woman who's married to multiple husbands. All right, just for clarity of the term, because again, words are important. But I want to discuss a few of the big mistakes that I made when I embarked upon my polygynous journey, if you will. And one of those is a strength in an area that we automatically think runs parallel into another area. So as many women already know, men love to compartmentalize. We could take something, hey, it's not related to this, it's over here. And in the whole picture, we see it as one thing in this area. So let's focus on this area. It has nothing to do with that necessarily. We operate that way. Kind of easy for us. So one of the first things I had the assumption that the same leadership skills that I possessed, the same leadership skills that I did in business were able to go ahead and be moved on over to my family structure. Now, to be fair, the same leadership principles absolutely apply, but the way they're implemented is a little different. All right, I'm personality type wise, if you look at the MBTI, and if you don't know what that is, then check in the description. I'm an INTJ. So with that being said, I'm a lot more rational. It's one of the nicknames given to an INTJ is the rational mastermind. It's about 2% of the population. So it's relatively rare. But with that being said, I look at myself as being logical and more rational. So the mistake I made with leadership came in, okay, well, here's polygyny. Polygyny is well known. It's something that's been going on throughout history. There's a massive need for it. And since it presented itself, and I'll get into that in a second, and I initially wasn't really interested because I felt I had to be at a certain level financially and everything else. So I was like, nah, but presented itself. I'm like, okay, cool. I evaluated some things and I'm like, I looked at myself, I took inventory. Didn't really know how to take inventory at the time because polygyny exposed you to dynamics that you're not familiar with. So I assumed, okay, my same leadership skills, I'll be able to move it over here. And I rationalized, look, I already know I'm a good man. I know some of you might think, oh my God, it sounds so narcissistic. You're such a good man. You get those in the comments. I know woman, sister, whatever. You'll see those in the comments. All right. Now, on the other hand, we're told to make sure you have good self-confidence. Make sure it's already demonstrable. You can look at your past and see that. You can see what you're doing in your family. You want to make sure your children have high self-esteem. So we tell them that they love themselves, that they're highly intelligent, and they should say that to themselves. And then it's like, yes, we're boosting their self-esteem and their confidence. So I already know I'm a good husband. That was already in the works for over 15 years. So that's not disputable. I'm just saying what facts are. The challenge was I looked at those facts and I said, okay, I'm already a good husband. I'm doing this for my family. I'm already a good leader working on business. I'm here. I'm proactive as a father, all of these different things. And I said, okay, well, my wife, just my lack of emotional agility, if you will, she's already a Muslima. She already knows what polygyny is. She's helped other people in their polygynous journey deal with their emotional challenges and assumptions and so on. So I figured, hey, she already recognized it. She might not necessarily like it. I don't think anybody will just go ahead and like it off the top, especially if they've been together for as long as we were. Because again, I met her when I was 14 years old. Now I'm 21 years later and looking at marrying someone else? I know what society looks at it as. I know the whole taboo thing, or how easy it is for zina or girlfriends, boyfriends, jump downs, mistresses, all these different things are pushed out there very easily. All right, and that's what they try to paint polygyny, which is an honorable form of marriage, as well. But me and my rationalization was like, well, she already knows this, so guess what? It'll make sense. We'll understand it, we'll overcome it, and so on and so forth. Big mistake. Why? Because I didn't go and look at the whole emotional aspect of it. Now, pain is pain, whether it's real, whether it's imagined. You go to a doctor, and if you have any children, you've been to a doctor and they need to get a shot to get some blood drawn on them, like hyperventilate, all this kind of stuff. Then it's a pinch and it's over and they lived, surprisingly, right? But all that extra fear was real, even though it was unwarranted. Or we may feel it may be unwarranted for our wives to have certain feelings or experiences and all this kind of stuff, because again, they can experience pain even if something has not happened. So here's a myth that I want you to just think about really quickly. The myth is that, oh, if a woman knows or is told and is talking about polygyny, that when it comes or happens, then she'll be more accepting of it or it'll be a lot easier for her. That's a myth. There's no actuarial data that we can look at to see if that's the case. But there are people we can look at and say, you know what, my husband been telling me about it for a couple years and it didn't lessen the pain. It actually made it worse for some people. They say, you know what, I was counting down D-Day for when that time was gonna happen, and I just wished I would have known until after the fact. Then you have those that imagine and say, you know what, if I'd have known, at least I could have prepared. There's truth on both sides of it. But the point is that there are challenges emotionally that me as a rational man did not see. And in doing that, that was a mistake by not making sure I raised my emotional intelligence to deal with it up front. That's why we say, you know what? Have the hard conversation first. Before you get married, preferably. If you've never been married before, you wouldn't know anyway. You're not like, you don't have any experience. So if you haven't been married, and it's like, you're trying to get married to monogamy. At least that's where I was. So with that being said, I thought these skills in leadership would easily transfer over here, and they didn't. Because when it came time to building a team, when it comes time to growing a business, you have a business plan. You have contingencies in place. If these things don't work, or this fails, or something doesn't go right, or you don't hit these numbers, then there are different things that you can focus on doing. I didn't utilize all of those things when it came to practicing polygyny. I said, all right, this looks good. This is how this can work. I can see this going like this. This can be a vision for the family. This can help build legacy. So I saw it from that perspective, which is okay, but I didn't go deep enough. So why didn't I go deep enough? Well, we don't have and didn't have an outstanding personal relationships like you have right now. And I said it before, and I'll point the finger again. I can point the finger. I read plenty of books. Didn't really watch many videos because they didn't exist at the time, over 12 years ago on polygyny. Now we're thankful to be breaking through, and other people are really joining in and training and putting information out there regarding polygyny, because it doesn't get its fair airplay when it comes to marriage. So it didn't have the resources. Then our religious institutions, at the same time, didn't offer practical advice on how to deal with the psychological issues, the emotional issues, or how to actually live well with another human. Let alone, we're still living in a society where regular, normal, traditional marriages fail at over 50%. But just because you have a more than 50% chance of failing in marriage, meaning that the marriage fails, that doesn't mean, it was a failure per se, depends on how you measure it. That doesn't mean you no longer get married. Doesn't make any sense, right? So it didn't have the tools. So here's the other part. Not having that, in being patient and waiting and learning and so on, instead of working toward a lot more repair. So for example, with Coach Fatimah, I reassured her, I did these different things, did stuff with the children. So I was being proactive in that part. But I still delayed utilizing my leadership to paint the vision the way I wanted it, because she asked me very early on, she said, okay, how is this thing gonna work? What's my relationship gonna be with her? I mean, how's it gonna work? So she was looking and coming to me for leadership. She was coming to me to see what my vision was. And at the time, I just gave her the broad array of options to make her own decision. I was like, in reality, you don't really have to be friends. I would prefer that minimally being courteous and cordial. And she was gonna do that already. She's a woman, she's mature, But in reality, I already had a vision of how my family looks today a dozen years ago. But I was being gentle and reassuring, say, here are the different levels, you can kind of choose, and it's really up to you. What I should have did, what I did a few years after that, was like, look, This is not how this guy. I don't like how this is look. Eid is gonna be over here with this and over here. And nah, this is how we gonna roll. This is our family. Everybody's under my protection. And this is how I want it to be. And this is how it should be. This is how we gonna move forward as a unit. Now, it wasn't just some unilateral, this is how it's gonna be, everybody get in line. Okay. No, it didn't operate like that. But it operated as, this is how we can really do this thing. Our children are growing, we're investing in personal development so we can manifest the best way to do it. And the great part is we were able to go ahead and re-engineer, reverse engineer, if you will, look at the good parts, look at the challenging parts, and say, all right, these are some of the mistakes I made. So that's what I want to share with you. I mistakenly thought that some of the skills in other areas of life that cause success in these other areas would easily translate in this side, run parallel, and cause success here. The difference is the leadership is absolutely needed, but it's a different type of leadership and more compassionate leadership and more understanding leadership that goes with your family. Because when you're running a business, somebody, look, I already learned, you should be slow to hire, quick to fire. And it's easier to run with 1,000 people to carry a dead person on your back. So these are just some principles, right? It's easier to give birth than to raise the dead. So if somebody's slacking, they fall behind, you just leave them. You really can't do that with family. So it's a different type of leadership. And thankfully, they were patient enough with me. And thankfully, I went and dug into myself, asked the hard questions to myself to get to that level. And some people ask, okay, what do you read? What do you do? Listen, the fact of the matter is, when it comes to polygyny, we have a polygamy masterclass. So if you want information on that, polygamymasterclass.com. Because the reality is, yes, I have 2 wives. Yep, no doubt. Yep, we made over 12 years. Total children that we have is 12. I have 10 biological children with my wives, and I have 2 bonus children. Now, if you think that you can just get that and asking a question in the comment, you think you just get that by interviewing a person or whatnot, and the multiple dynamics that are needed in order to really succeed in that and to grow, then you will be fooling yourself. And I'm gonna let you know that right up front, because I fooled myself on some things. I'm like, okay, so here's the leadership thing. This is what I need to do. She'll understand this because she'll think like me and logically and rationally, here's the pros, here's the cons. Well, this is not a Benjamin Franklin close. Here's the pros of this. Here's the cons of this. No, because some things weigh more than others. Just like when we talk about your core values and making sure you know what they are so that you make sure you are meshing properly or minimally not pressing the button of the person that you love that you're married to. All right? So let me ask you, what is your biggest challenge, bro, when it comes to polygyny? Because you're in one of 4 phases. You're either in the pre-phase, where the thought has crossed your mind, so you're watching this video, trying to get some information, or somebody's done it and working with many people. So you're in the pre-phase, you haven't done it, you thought about it. Or you might already be in the discussion phase. You talk to your wife about it, already has some understanding or whatnot, and so on. Or you might already be married in polygyny and practicing it, or about to. So you may be in the transition phase, or you're in the normalization phase. So it's one of these different areas. What is your biggest challenge? See, one of the things my mentors told me, said, it's okay to copycat as long as you copy the right cat. And I got that. When they say don't reinvent the wheel, I get that. Now I understand everybody is different, but here's the thing. With 7 billion people on the planet, it's highly unlikely, it's extremely unlikely and damn near impossible that somebody has not already had similar challenges, stresses, and issues that they can't already help you get through. And I know if I can read a book by failures, then I can avoid a lot of that. The challenge is failures don't usually write books. But if somebody wasted life, 10, 20 years, and they told me exactly what they did, well, that book would be great for me because I can see exactly what not to do. So I'm gonna ask you, what is your biggest challenge right now? What is your number 1 biggest challenge in polygyny? Put in the comments. And with that being said, I'm gonna let you know, don't be average, strive to be outstanding. Because average is nothing but the top of the bottom or the bottom of the top. I want you to be outstanding. I want to help you get your shift together. So post your question below in the comments. Let me know. Let me know you saw this entire video. You support what we're doing and what we're working with. And I want you to go ahead and put my favorite city in the US is blank. As you can see, or maybe you can't see, I don't know. I'm in Chi right now, all right, in the Midwest, Chicago. Beautiful out here. Summertime Chi that Kanye talk about is beautiful. Nevertheless, with that being said, remember, wish changes nothing, but a decision changes everything. Assalamu alaikum. Peace. Pardon the interruption. Let me ask you a question. Do you think that you could thrive better in the community that's more supportive? Now, I already know the answer to that. But did you know that Outstanding Personal Relationships actually has a community that is supportive and where we really hang out a lot? It has a number of areas and things like, for example, I deal with the men in the Kings and Men section where we discuss a number of different men issues, whether it's polygyny related, parenting related, whatever it may be. This is where we communicate and connect.
And as an introvert, I love the idea of an online community. So we have that. And to be able to speak with like-minded people, speak with other wives, wives, whether you're incoming wife, whether you're a first wife, you're a wife, period, in general, you only practicing monogamy, whatever the case may be, to be able to be in a community with people who understand what you're going through, understand any type of issues you have, and also being in a place where you have support from others, where it's not all over social media for everybody else to see.
Yes, and it is a safe space. So if you guys want to see us or if you want to connect with us, come to our community.
Indeed. And like they said, it's private. All right. So you don't have to worry about your stuff being all over the place or all on social media. Try to find the comments and go scroll. We have the subjects. We have all this type of stuff. Just go to outstandingpersonalrelationships.com. Look on the top of the page. Click on community. We look forward to seeing you there. Back to the video.